In a world that glorifies the grind, Selah is a sacred invitation to pause. Every other week, you'll find space here to slow down, listen inward, and remember who you are beneath all the noise. Through guided reflections, soulful conversations, gentle practices, and story-led journeys, Selah, a deep pause, offers rest. Not an escape, not to repress, but as a way to come home. This podcast is for those standing at the edge of change. You know who you are. The seekers, the sensitives, the high-functioning feelers, those ready to honor the quiet and reclaim their own rhythm. So come as you are, and exhale, then exhale again, and stay for the stillness. Welcome back to Selah-A Deep Pause. It's been a hot second since we've had Tim on. I'm excited to bring him in. And of course, Chrissy will be here to help us dive in just a little deeper.
Just a little bit. Hi, everyone.
This episode is very raw. It's a continuation of the last episode of pretty much what unfolded, because we've been talking about, Wachuma, and, even the last process of my 8-year-old with Wachuma. And it energetically opens something up that Tim and I did not see coming. So what I'm going to do is open us up with the framework. I want to read this part just because I want to make sure I set an idea of what we're going to talk about here. And then we'll see how the episode unfolds. So today's conversation is tender. It's also fresh. And honestly, we're still inside of it. 6 days ago, Tim and I truly thought our marriage might be over. And today, we're sitting here together, not because everything's fixed, but because something became impossible to avoid. So this is what I like to call our third energetic divorce, a phrase we've used in previous episodes to describe the death and rebirth cycles that can happen inside a long-term relationship when old identities, old patterns, and partial truths can no longer survive. So this episode will be raw, as we are two people standing in the ashes while still smelling the smoke. What happens when two evolving people can no longer survive in partial truths? What happens when the nervous system, the body, the heart all begin to ask for a deeper congruency? Because the truth is, rupture is not always the failure of a relationship. Rupture is the moment truth can no longer be negotiated away. And while truth can feel devastating when it arrives, it is the most potent medicine and invitation to grow. It's not easy medicine. It's not comfortable medicine, but medicine that invites us into deeper honesty, deeper embodiment, deeper responsibility, and can lead to much deeper love. The kind of love that asks, can we metabolize the truth without abandoning ourselves? Can we stay present with old identities when old identities begin to collapse? And can we let something die without immediately calling the relationship dead? So before we begin, we just want to take a deep breath together. For anyone listening who is inside of rupture, inside of uncertainty, inside the dismantling of all the old ways of relating, may this conversation remind you that endings and thresholds can sometimes live in the same space. And may we all continue learning how to meet truth, not as punishment, but just a sacred invitation. Oh, holy cow. So you want to elaborate on energetic divorce, like what we call
Sure.
that?
So obviously in a couple of episodes, we've talked about some of our previous, we call them energetic divorces. Pretty much, I mean, you look at us as individuals and we've changed, we've grown, we've evolved, we've let loose, we've shed, and turned into kind of new people,
Well,
in a sense,
constantly new
right?
people.
And sometimes that rupture happens, and I'll get into how that happened this time around. I mean, something like that happens and people don't know what to do or how to handle it. And I don't think we did the first time.
Hmm.
Luckily now we have the tools. We've been through it before to navigate it. To the anger, the resentment is not necessarily there. But what it is we're taking a look at who we've changed, how we're growing, and do we still fit together?
Hmm.
And do we our needs change, our wants change, and sometimes we become stagnant or stuck.
Well, even what happened this time, I think for months we've been triggering each other, right?
Oh, for sure.
Um, and lots of triggers, but because we don't want to lose this connection, we start abandoning parts of ourselves. We start, shushing parts of ourselves to keep the connection. But what that actually really does is there's an underlying current of triggers, it until it gets to
Triggers
the
and
point.
patterns.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this a little bit later about how sometimes, especially I look at it, especially from a masculine point of view, is we tend to bottle things up,
Mm.
push them down. We don't feel comfortable or safe to have the conversation because there's the whole thing of if I tell you something, am I going to be enough? Am I going to be looked at like not being enough?
The fear of
The
disappointing.
fear of disappointment or being told what to do.
Mm.
Load the dishwasher. I loaded the dishwasher. You loaded the damn dishwasher wrong. No, everybody loads it differently, right? And so going into that, I don't even know where I was going with that.
But
So
you were gonna start describing the details. I think
right,
it's really important to
okay.
identify the
Cool. Couple of bullet points on the energetic divorce and what that is: depth and rebirth of a relationship. It's a collapse of old relational identities. How did we react when we were in our older versions of ourselves, and also in terms of grieving older versions of each other.
Mhm. Mhm.
What actually died in the energetic divorce? What survived? And then what is the true definition or difference between separation and dissolution? It's kind of the last couple times. One was a 9-day. This I don't
The
remember the other
second
one,
one was 2.5 days.
and this one was 6 days where we are just completely separated. I'm in the garage apartment. Laura's here in the house, and we just really disconnect our energy from each other.
Mhm.
And we take the time to really look deep within ourselves in terms of what happened, what triggered this. Are there other things that may have triggered it or caused certain things to, like for me, be pushed down to cause me to pull away, to distance myself from Laura? At that point as well is then I'm not expressing myself, or I may be hiding my feelings or hiding things, and then that just blows up. Here's the thing: we didn't even about the true underlying reason that this happened wasn't even why it started.
No.
I mean, why it started was Sunday afternoon. She came up and I was taking a nap on the couch, and she goes, "Hey, do you want to go to Wimberley?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go to frickin' Wimberley. I'm laying here taking a nap." And all of a sudden, that triggered something in her,
Mhm.
and then it became an argument. And
I mean, it's something so simple, energetically blew up, but it had to. Primarily, I mean, for me, I've been integrating my 8-year-old from the Wachuma journey, and there was a lot of that message from me was like, stand up, and it's stand up, stand up. And so, and I didn't know what it meant until this happened. It was pointing that there is things in the relationship that I had stopped asking for. There was opportunities for growth where I had not um, given it space, in order to just this fear sometimes takes over and goes, I don't want to sacrifice connection. And so um, this year specifically, because boy, the energy of this year has been big. This blew up in my standpoint more of from an energetic place because there were some things that my body wanted me to recognize and feel. And so the only way I was going to experience that is I got so upset that I had to literally go, I can't. It started with, I don't want you in the bed tonight, to then all of a sudden, oh, no, I don't want you coming back right now. And sitting in the discomfort, sitting in all the emotions. And what's really interesting is that I get the image of like when, you let, the fat come up, because the longer you sit, more and more things started bubbling up. So we had a conversation every other day. Like we would set up a time to sit and talk. This is what's coming up for me, what's coming up for you.
I pled the fifth a lot, but
So what do you mean
yeah.
by that? What do you mean by that, Tim?
Well, I mean, I think there were certain parts along the way that I wasn't ready to have the deep enough conversation. And instead of saying something that I probably didn't want to say or shouldn't have said, I was just like, I'm not ready to go there yet.
Is that like a safety thing? Because I
100%.
recognize that, yeah, where it's like because it sounds like you two set up the time to talk about it. But even if you're presented with the question or whatever, there's times where you're like, not right now.
Right. And I look at it this way from my point of view, male point of view, right? Because so many times along the way, we even when working with couples and with men, and it's like women want to feel safe, and safety is different for men and women.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, men think that safety is strictly the physical protection, that type of thing. But for a for a man to open up to their spouse or their partner, they also need to feel safe.
Mhm.
That's what I said just a
Mhm.
little bit ago, and that's kind of what led to some of our stuff. Is I didn't always necessarily feel safe to express my feelings, to express my worries, my fears, because old Laura, and I say
Mhm.
this from my eyes, in certain
Another version of Laura. Mhm.
Mhm.
would have not reacted the way that she does now. Now she's much more open, understanding, loving, but that still is an old pattern for me that for many, many years, if I did something or if I said something, she reacted to where I didn't feel safe to bring it to her attention. And so
Yeah.
I held it in.
Yeah, so the safety's not like, oh, not like from a like physical safety, but from
Right.
your body and your mind recognize an old pattern. If I say this, this happens. This is
Mhm.
Correct.
probably what I think is going
Mhm.
to happen. Your story maker comes in and says the thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for you, what I'm hearing in that conversation, which is probably why it took over 6 days for you to be like, well, just say the thing because you don't know if I say this thing, that's going to lead to this thing. And right now, I don't
Yes.
have the energetic like space to deal
Right.
with where I think this is going to go,
Right.
whether it goes
And
there
for
or not.
right. And for me, that had been building up for several months.
Yeah.
I mean, several months. Um, And so what happened for me is then I get my nervous system, and I didn't really understand all of this until just recently, that my nervous system would just get so wound and so just tighter than like a snare drum, right? And so I'm always walking around on edge. And so, do you want to go to Wimberley? No, I don't want to go to Wimberley. Or
Wimberley
did
is
you,
lovely, but not
were you,
all the time.
yeah, I know. I've been there. It's
Wimberley is
awesome.
lovely.
But yeah, have you done this out in the yard or have you done? And she's not asking me like, have you done this? She's just, have you done it?
Mm.
Or
Yeah.
and
But
I'd be like, no. And then
yeah.
and you would think after all of the work that we've done and we've
Mhm.
been through that wouldn't happen. But I just got stuck in,
Well, the adaptive child really took over this year specifically. I mean, it's been since the beginning of the year. There has been a pattern. I could see it. I could smell it. I could recognize it. And that's why I would open the door and go, are you okay? Is there something, off? Do you need to talk about something? But he was putting on the I'm fine. And I'm like, okay, all right, this is not comfortable. And it just kept going and
it
kept
got
going.
deeper and stronger and
Yes.
stronger
Mm-hmm.
to where, I mean, then I pull back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to connect. I don't want to be necessarily intimate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to communicate. I don't want to go to Wimberley. I don't want to even go down the green in the golf cart to check out the new store.
Mm-mm.
I just pull back and I'm like, uh-uh. But that was all me and my old story. And so as I'm apart and I'm over yonder, then I really started to think, and I'm like, okay, why am I feeling this way? What leads me to all of this? And so many things just start to land. And then as we have the conversations and I take down my walls, take down my armor, and I start to talk, I start to open up, literally my body just relaxed. I
Mhm.
felt grounded, I felt clear, uh, all these different things. And it was simply pausing,
Yeah.
you know,
And then this one
yeah,
required a big pause
yeah.
and a lot of space to
Well, also, I
yeah.
mean, by pause, I mean just there and going, what's causing this? And then I was able to sit and ask questions of myself, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you have any
Um,
examples of the questions that you asked
The-
yourself, Tim, that you don't mind sharing?
sure. Why am I so short tempered? Or why have I been so short
Mhm.
tempered? Because I'm normally not. And I'm like, what would cause that? Well, I got all this crap around the house I want to get done. The yard looks like shit. I'm trying to figure out what to do with my career, kind of in that
changing,
changing,
shifting.
changing,
Mhm.
shifting point,
Transition.
transition. Laura wants to do all these things and I don't feel like doing them because I'm pissed because the house and this, and I have an office that's downstairs in, now whatever. So, and she's got this nice room, and ultimately, it wasn't resentment that she's got a nice room. It was, I gave mine up for something else, but I didn't have the voice to say I need it back. And so I'm asking myself, what causes all of that? What leads to this? Is
Mhm.
that a big deal? Are there ways to circumvent around that? And as I did that, I felt better. Then I started asking my questions, where's the drift? Because we're in that drift again.
Mhm.
We're in that where we're drifting. And part of it was me not being open and honest with her because I still was thinking of that previous Laura, that version, not the new version.
And it's wild how the adaptive child
Yeah,
does that. Like
yeah,
the grounded Tim can see this version of Laura, but when you are stressed and overwhelmed, the adaptive child takes over.
correct.
And that's what even was triggering me because I was like in small little previous conversations before this blow up, I was just like I kept telling you, it's like you're not can you even see me right now? Because
Mm.
because he couldn't. So I went back to, you know, feeling unseen, unheard, and definitely was losing his presence, which energetically I had been feeling for months.
So
And so
if
I did,
you so I heard both of you say that this has been building for months. At any point in time over the last few months, did something come up, go, "Oh, this is building," or did you just allow that undercurrent to just keep moving? Like, was there any time you're like, we might wanna have a convo?"
Oh, yeah. Well, for me, there was. I kept bringing it up because my intuition kept pushing me in and my little visions. I was getting little visions of things that I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So then I'd approach him and then
I wasn't in a place.
he didn't want to let me see it.
I was fully
Yeah.
ejected.
So, which is actually the biggest reason why I ended up feeling so hurt is because every time I'd ask, he'd say no, and then so I'd second guess my intuition and going like, "Oh, well, why am I having these thoughts? Why am I having these visions? Why am I?" And so that started causing what anytime, like for me, that if him not being open caused me to doubt me. And so when then it came out that no, there was things, like he was pushing me away. He was not letting me know that he wasn't okay. Um, that
Why
yeah.
would a guy want to do that? I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
kidding.
Why
It
would anybody? I
just
mean, why would anybody wanna do that,
Right.
really? I
No, but
mean, that's because
yeah,
you're even though you're opening yourself up to vulnerability, you're also opening yourself up to what's currently going on is this undercurrent, and at least it's going, and it's not as 6 days apart.
right.
correct. Correct. Yeah, and just like anything, I mean, the reason I'm very specific about the third energetic divorce because we have a lot of moments where we have the conversations and readjust. We have the conversations and readjust. But when you are, especially when you're in this work and you're evolving and evolving and evolving and evolving, you hit some big thresholds where a lot of deeper truths come to the top that have to be really looked at, but it's now taking the relationship now another level, another deeper level of willingness to hold one another, see one another. Um, and it's a new threshold. And new thresholds are uncomfortable. I don't know that you can avoid that. Because all the other little conversations take care of the big things, but there is so much unconscious stuff underneath the there's so much of unconscious patterns from the adaptive child that are still running certain aspects that we don't even know how to explain. Um,
And along that line, it's like we have the tools,
yeah.
but we weren't using them.
Well, and I think sometimes we don't give ourselves a fucking break because Tim, what I
Correct.
heard you say was you're in a transition. You're trying to figure out, you guys like life has been lifey, right? And there's a lot of things coming in that you're trying to almost reassess your own individual identity, and that's a lot. And
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
um and I would assume, making an assumption for men, that that comes also with a heavy load as well that maybe doesn't get articulated because you're supposed to know what you're doing, Tim. You're a man up, get it done. You should know
Yep.
it. All that dumb stuff that is said,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
Yeah.
so I could imagine that that's, having that on top of it is like, it's like, it's almost like this. Like if you add one more thing, it's just going to blow.
Correct. That brings up a great example because I had a men's event. I don't know, it's probably November, December, and
Mhm.
one of the main things that I talked about is the example I used was I had an empty backpack, and I had everybody put the backpack on, empty. Then I put a rock out in it. I said, "That's your stress from work." Put another rock in. Here's your stress from home and the kids. I put another rock in. This is your sometimes feeling unworthy of
Mhm,
love or success or whatever. And I added about 4 or 5 rocks, and I'm not talking
mhm,
like little rocks. I'm talking
Boulders, like
little mini boulders, right? And then have them put that backpack on. And it's like, wow, because that's what men do. They carry a lot of that. I mean, women do too, but men
mhm,
really, because of the ego and like you just said, I'm a man, I should whatever, right? They don't put that stuff down. They don't they carry it and they don't let it go. And it becomes so burdensome and heavy that then they just they're crushed, right? And that's where some of them then if they're carrying all this and they can't talk about it or let it go,
or give it to someone else
that's
because that's usually
or
the thing, right?
yep, they'll take it out on someone else. Or and if
Mhm,
they can't do that, that's when that drift happens with their spouse, with their kids. But they put that stuff down and they become open to talk about it. They can become vulnerable. They feel safe because it's really not that bad. A lot of it's here.
mhm.
yeah.
And I get stuck in that. I mean, I think
Mhm.
Yeah,
most people do.
I mean, all humans do.
yeah.
Um,
I don't think
and
anyone's,
mhm,
safe from it.
mhm. We're like, and that the issue is trying to hide that,
Right.
you know,
When it's not even
versus asking for help.
I don't think it's hiding it. It's not typically, I don't even think it's on purpose, right? And nobody sits there and be like, I'm just not gonna keep it to myself and not tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
It's almost like I don't wanna burden somebody with that, kinda going back to the worthiness. I was like, "Ugh, this is why am I whining about this?" Or like this own it's a whole bunch of individual, I was gonna say nonsense, but it's important to us on some level, or we'd be able to move through it quickly. But it's something that just like it just I always talk about it like being in a tar pit. Like you kind of free up here, but you're just being pulled down slowly, and getting out of it just feels like I can't get this off me. And so it's
Yeah.
just this slow, it's just a slow energy
Mm.
that just sucks. And it just sucks
Yeah.
you and just kind of like, here's where I am. And hey, let's talk about it. No, thank you.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm just gonna be
Hey,
here in my truck.
but the good thing is with the tools and finally able to sit and talk about things.
being married to me, which
Well,
we'll
yeah,
have to talk about it.
but doing that and having and taking that next step, it definitely. And then Laura did some things and found out, why she really misses me and so forth. Anyhow, it, it coming back together and having those conversations and putting and stripping away some of that crap, especially for me, stripping that away and looking at her and going, here's why I love her. Here's why I want to be with her. We all change. We all have to adapt. We all have to grow individually and as a couple. And I can tell you this, since what was it, Saturday afternoon, when we kind of
Saturday afternoon, we literally, like, the energetic divorce, like the old versions of us got divorced and we recommitted. And it's not like we're done.
no,
No, we're like recommitted to continuing this deeper conversation because this new threshold requires
correct.
another level.
But I can tell you this, my nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
I've slept through the night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I have a screw in my chest just winding me up. I feel clear. I feel grounded. And it's really been kind of fun over the last couple of days to cook together again. I mean, where before it was, this is one of the things,
Yeah.
and this is just a really weird example. I would get so just push her away. I'd cook, and she'd want to come in and just saute some of the vegetables, and I'd snap at her. Like, what are you doing? I got this. Almost like proving my
Mm-hmm.
validity of that I could do this. But then the other day we were cooking and she hopped in and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Thanks. And it's just my nervous system had just been like so wound up that we released it. And it's just, I feel awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, the work's never done.
No. And it feels really good.
So, what happened for each of you internally during the separation?
Perfect.
Yeah.
You go.
Well, I'm more energetic. The first 2 days for me, it was all body. I mean, it was just like the first energetic divorce, which I didn't even know what was happening with that one. So that was very different. This time I had a lot of awareness around it. I had a hard time sleeping. I tossed and turned. I had pains in my body I normally don't have. I had so many aches and pains and tossing and turning and temperature changes, and my entire system was clearing. What Everything that had been in the shadows was coming to the light, and so it was moving through my body. So for me, the first couple of days was a lot of discomfort. And so I didn't have much to talk about because I was just in the discomfort of my body because once all the angst, once the pimple had popped, from Sunday, my body was processing a lot of discomfort. And then once my body started processing the discomfort, then I started having visuals. I started having a lot of stuff. This is me, right? And then I started getting angry. Then I started, and this is very much connected to this energetic divorce to me is very connected to my Wachuma experience because my 8-year-old was always scanning, um, got used to scanning the room for safety because I was in an unstable environment. So I think that's really part of what was happening. I started getting angry because I started looking at going like, I've been dealing with this with his short temper for months now, which is not normal. I mean, you've seen us. This was not the norm. And this wasn't just 1 week or a couple of days of stress. It had been building. So then I started getting angry. I started getting very hurt because I started seeing all the things where I had just gone, it's like, well, it's okay, I'll just go do this by myself, or I'll just, and so I started feeling all the emotions behind the last couple of months, which in that made me get to a point where I know, like, we had set up conversations like every other day or when we felt ready. I remember when we had another conversation on Thursday. Tim had already processed a lot. He was ready to be more open with me. And I was like, I'm in a completely different place now. I said, now I'm angry. Now I'm this. So I was starting to feel all this energy of like, I don't know that I can come back from this. Uh, but I was also allowing myself to express that and let him see that. And that actually opened up a really, really huge, that's what started shifting everything, a really big conversation um, for us. I'll stop there for now, but where was it? Where were you?
So for me, typically what happens or what has happened is for first 24 to 48 hours, I just disconnect from everything. I try not to think about it, and then I'll get lost in a movie, and then I'll be up and I'll fall asleep at 4 in the afternoon, wake up at 1, then I'm up from 1 until the next day. And for the first 24 to 48 hours, my body is just, it's fighting me to do what should feel normal. And then typically there's a point in there that I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on? Then that's when those questions start to come in. I start to journal. I start to go deeper into those questions to try to figure out where is it that this disconnect has happened. And then I understood, and this time I understood that it was on me. I get the 8-year-old child and the standing up, and I completely get that, and that did play a role in it. But through my eyes, I start asking my questions: where am I? Where did that guy go that had made so much progress? Why is he back? Why is he back in the tunnel? Why is he back spinning out of control and wound up? Why? And instead of getting frustrated, I start to journal, and something will pop up and it'll be that question. And I'll spend hours just sitting and having conversations and just really dissecting where I'm at, trying to solve. I don't want to say solve, but trying to dig in and go, what's triggering me to do this? Why is that? That's why is that someone else? Is it me? If it, and then comes another set of questions. And usually by that time, I slowly kind of go, okay, here's what happened. I started to feel all those pressures again. I wasn't talking. I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to be open. I want to clear this. I'm ready to, I don't want to say turn the page because it's not turning the page, but I'm ready to move forward with all the positive things. So that's what happens with me.
So then
Um,
when did you guys
and
like come back from that?
so once all the emotions come in, then for me, literally, because I start contemplating what's best for me. Is this relationship still where I want to be? You know, and I allow myself to go there. Um, and feel what it feels like. Um, what would it look like for me to be single again? What does that feel like? Because unless I allow myself to feel that, I don't know what I'm missing out on. Um, and so honestly, as I started tuning in to all of those things, I had a really epic conversation. Actually, there was two gentlemen I had a conversation with on Friday night. And one mentioned, women look for certain, resources in men. That's when they're looking for something, there's resources that they're looking for the man to provide. And, he's talking about most women are looking for a man to provide financial resources. And so we're having this really deep conversation. And I don't know exactly how we got there, but he said something that just hit me. He goes, it sounds like from the way you described him, he goes, that the biggest resource Tim provides is safety. And something about the way he said that, literally, it was like a reel of from, you have been the most stable, the most safe place I have ever been in my life, since my divorce from my first husband. And since before that, there was no safety in my world. There was no stability. There was nothing. And I mean, it was like he hit this button that I'm like, oh, I got this whole reel of all the level of safety, all the willingness also to, even when we hit thresholds, that you still go there with me. And when I felt that, And then there was another guy that asked me, goes, "How do you keep the passion in such a long relationship? We've been together 22 years." And he goes, "With the same person." And I kind of chuckled to myself and I was like, well, it's because we're not the same person anymore. We keep evolving, we keep changing. If we were the same people, there wouldn't be passion.
If we were the same first people, there wouldn't be a Tim and Laura anymore.
No, there wouldn't be the Tim and Laura anymore. And that just the feeling of not having the biggest resource that he provides me, which is safety. I mean, it just flooded me with emotion. And I texted him and I was like, I need to talk. I'm ready to talk again. And I got a lot to say. So it was like a full circle. Like the body had its process for me, then all the emotion had its process, and then truth and what's important. I was able to make space for the truth and what's really important here.
And to piggyback on that, when she was able to do that with me and express that with me, I felt safe. And so I opened up.
Mm-hmm.
Opened up on some things
Way more.
way more than I had, and I felt safe enough where before I wouldn't have, because I would have been afraid of what I was opening up about may have caused more damage to our relationship than really not opening up. Does that make sense? Did I say that right? I was
Yeah, I
afraid
think
to
so.
open up
Mhm.
because I was afraid of bad things to happen.
Yeah. But this one already felt like, because this was like the closest I think I had ever been to going like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then it just allowed me to feel comfortable and safe to open up about things. And then it was I always, when we've talked to people in terms of couple stuff, we talk about the infinity. Once the symbol, right? As things go, everything seems just to flow, 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 flow. You throw a monkey wrench in there and, well, now it's stopped. And that's what happens typically with our energetic divorces. We kind of sit here, but then once we open up and we able to communicate, it just takes a little bit of that.
Yeah. And it's hard and it's
Yeah.
painful. I mean, honestly, it's hard, it's painful, it's really genuinely scary. But like, I mean, the last 3 days have been amazing.
Awesome.
And we're like, oh my God, there's a lot of
And I'm
space.
like, it's just opening up and talking,
Mhm.
right? Especially for me, right?
Yeah.
And so,
So when you guys talk about the energetic divorce, like, was there
yeah.
an actual, like, process to that for you? Like, when it came to the end?
Well, as far as coming back together,
Mhm.
yeah. So initially coming back together is it's one, coming back together is about, can we hold the truth? Whether we like it or not, can we hold the truth? Um, what matters to me? I think the last few times, like I had my list of like, my king needs to do this, this, that, and the other, and I had all these lists of things that I wanted. This time I actually had very few things. Because I said, I'm still, to me, this one felt really big. I said, so I want to stay. I said, one, I don't want to spend another night without you. I said, I'm done. I miss you. I want you back. And so I just listed a few of the things that are crucially important for me from this point forward. And which is, I love to dance. I love to,
Go to Wimberley.
go, just
Apparently go to
randomly little
Wimberley.
things.
Think we should maybe go to Wimberley this week, maybe just plan a weekend.
So, but it was things like, I want to go dancing again. I loved dancing. I had stopped because I knew he didn't like dancing, and I want to,
But have you seen me dance?
but then you said something, he goes, you know what? I should make it important then.
Yeah.
And I loved that.
Well, what happened too is, since I was in such a bad place, I didn't want to do anything.
Mm-mm.
I didn't want to connect. I didn't want to do anything. And that's part of what I went through during that 6 days in there, is going, I'm making this uncomfortable for all of us because I'm not willing to snap out of it and to get moving and to do the things, because I do. And my thing is, I love seeing her smile, and to be able to go, if it's dancing, or maybe we go out and
Wimberley.
start to play pickleball, or go to Wimberley, or, just different things like that. to see her smile makes me happy. I'm just in a better mood. And so it's just, I don't know.
Yeah. So I just started listing a couple of things that, you know, hey, these are non-negotiables for me. I want to do this. And understanding that he's okay, he's willing to make it important to me because it's important to him because it's important to me. And I said, and there's probably more coming. And who knows, we may go dancing a couple of times and I'm like, never mind, my knees hurt. Maybe we only do it every few months but I needed that willingness to pretty much do life with me again because I think that's what we had realized. I was like, no wonder he was short and all these things, and I was having all these feelings. Is he was everything I suggested was a no, and so it was like, oh, okay, and so he had been pushing me away.
One of my big things is a weekly check-in. Just we pick a, a weekday night where we
Monday
just
nights.
Monday nights where we sit across from each other, no phones, nothing, and we just check in. Like, what's working, what's not.
Mm,
Am I here's where I'm lacking, or I feel it gives me an opportunity to not let my emotions get suffocated and pushed down. But I know it's a time frame to where I'm safe to say I feel stressed for work. I've been tempted to drink. Um, any things like that, where before I couldn't say that because I felt I would get the wrath, right? But
mhm.
that's one thing that I want is that weekly, and it could be 5 minutes or it could be an hour and a half,
Mhm.
but we set aside and dedicate that time to where we really open up our communication and express our
Yeah.
needs, our wants,
Yeah.
um, what's working, what's
Yeah,
not.
because this one to me feels like there is a lot to be expressed and it can't all come out
Yeah.
at once. So it's like, okay, let's nurture this and just genuinely see where we're at.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So and now we're good. I mean, honestly, it feels really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did it just in time, just before Mother's Day, and then we had a beautiful Mother's Day, and it feels like, oh, there he is again.
I feel alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
'Cause I had lost him
Yeah.
for a few months, so we found him. But I feel pretty complete. Anything else to share for men or
Put down what you're carrying. It's okay to talk.
mhm.
Not always about the weather or the sports or the stock market or anything like that. And talk
Give her
about,
give her an opportunity to see you,
yeah.
'cause you'd be surprised. Yeah. Mm. Okay. Well, then I am going to take us into a closing, and, I hope this episode served. So, as we close this conversation, let's take an exhale. We are leaving with more honesty and bigger awareness, and maybe a little more capacity to stay present when life and truth arrives. What we moved through over the last few days was pretty painful. There were moments where it truly felt like something was ending, and in actuality, something did. Old identities ended, old ways of protecting ended, old agreements built on silence, shrinking, performance, or partial truths began dissolving. And yet, something else also became available: a deeper willingness to see, a deeper willingness to tell the truth, a deeper willingness to stop abandoning ourselves in order to preserve connection. Not because we've mastered love, but because love itself keeps asking for more of us. And maybe that's what partnership becomes over time: not the avoidance of rupture, but the willingness to meet rupture consciously. Not the promise that we will never hurt each other, but the courage to remain honest enough so that healing is possible. So, for anyone listening who is standing in sight, inside of uncertainty, grief, truth, or transformation. We just want to say this gently. Are you not failing because something old is falling apart? This dismantling is actually sacred and so precious. Sometimes what feels like death is actually the crossing of a threshold your soul can no longer avoid. May we all continue learning how to stay close to ourselves while staying close to another. May truth become less frightening and more liberating. May we stop confusing self-abandonment with love. And may the relationships that are meant to evolve find the courage to evolve honestly. Thank you for sitting with us in this conversation today. Thank you for pausing with me. May what you heard settle gently in your body and stir something true within you. If this episode spoke to your soul, please subscribe and share with someone else who might need this pause as well. Until next time, come as you are, take a deep breath, and stay for the stillness.